Welcome back to another template design walkthrough. This design is called Forefront. We're going to take a quick look here at the layer options that are in this design by default, just so you can get a feel for the ease of use on this, and just to see maybe any potential gotchas or things like that that are going to give you the best chance to make super quick use out of this and be really productive. All right, so taking a look at the top of our layer stack, we have our color grading layers. As usual, these are going to add a little bit of finishing, color, and contrast to the overall image just to give it that polished look at the end. But as always, you can expand this group. There's two different layers in here. These can be turned on and off, or you could change opacities on these if you want to customize that little bit of color grading there in the end. Directly below that, these are facial highlight boost layers. These are designed to increase the highlight contrast on the subject's face to draw that attention back into your subject. When we turn our subject on, we'll use one of these to do just that. Below that is some normal text layers. So we have a year here. We have a player or subject name down here. Very simple text, easily updatable. The link to the sample text I'm using here is on the product page. That will link you directly to that font. Below that, as always, marked in red is going to be groups or areas where subjects are placed. So you're going to see it tells you to place the foreground subject in this group. So you can just expand this group. You're going to get a blank layer that says subject here. And you can see we have a sample subject we're going to turn on in just a minute here. Below that are some effects. These effects are really just it's like a film grain effect getting added over everything just to add some texture. That can be turned on or off, opacity, lowered, increased, whatever you like the look of. Now below that's this weird looking subject shadow that's going to make more sense once our subject's on. It's just a pre-made shadow that can be placed or opacity changed just to create some shading in behind the subject there to create some three-dimensional layering. Below that, this is our repeating text. So in this instance, it's the dragons, dragons, dragons. If we open this group, you're going to see this is done via smart objects so that you just have to update it once. And it's going to tell you, edit this one. Here, you don't have to touch these two here. So to change this text, if we double click on the layer thumbnail of the smart object, it's going to open up a new document window. And from here, again, this is just simple editable text now. This link for this is also on the product page. So we just double click and edit this text as normal. So I'm going to type the new text in, apply it, close the window. It's going to ask if we want to save. I'm going to say yes, and you can see it just updates all three of those text objects at once. So that's the point of that smart object, is to simplify that and not having to change all three of those individually. All right, you can also change the color of that text within there too. So just as a sample, if you wanted this to be, red or something, you could punch a particular color in, close it, save it, yes, and you can see it's going to update that color as well. All right, so we'll just leave it red for now. If we want to change it back, we can. So here's some contrast gradient going on in the background just to create a little bit more dynamic contrast. These are these couple foreground triangle shapes here. You can expand that. You can turn these off or on if you like. Just a little bit of a graphic addition to that foreground, but those can be turned on or off here. Below that, you can see this is creating some gradient on this, the foreground part of this background, basically where the subject's going to be at. There's some lower gradient, some upper gradient, just to create some dimension in the lighting there. And then this is that full ground plane right there. All right, so not that you have to use feet on this one. You can extend the feet out past the bottom, but this would be the ground plane if putting feet in here. All right, below that's a couple different color layers. So we have a color wash and a color blocking. So basically what's happened on the color blocking is we have this set to a color blend mode, which is going to give whatever color this is set to that overall kind of blocked up look. Now, there is some transparency because I have the opacity turned down, but if you turn it up, you can see it's going to be much more prevalent that it's just shifting everything to this tone. And then the color wash is doing some heavier color just washing across everything. It's actually set to a vivid light blend mode. It's going to be more contrasty and dark. So we have 2 of those layers. So if you were changing this to say a blue, you'd want to change this one and then likely, you know, copy this hex value and set this to the same thing. And that would give you like a matching look there. All right, so we'll set those back. Here's some overall exposure adjustment happening in that background just to balance things out. Now another red group, that means the subject's here. So this is a place allotted if you want to drop a background subject in. That's going to be inside of this group. And this layer clipped here is just doing some dimming of that background subject so they're not so stand out. Now here's some of these triangle pieces in the background, again, just to create some additional texture in here. There's a couple others in here you could turn on. You could move these around. Again, turn things on or off however that you like. There's some background smoke in here just for some added texture. Again, can be turned on or off as needed. And then there's a background color gradient. That's this gradient. If we turn these off, you can kind of see that's glowing up here to add a little bit extra color down here around this base. And then your background color is really not going to be doing a ton, but you're going to see things are transparent and showing through. So if you wanted to brighten that up, you could definitely go, you know, completely to white, or, you know, make it even darker or in between. You could make it actually colored if you want to. So again, very easy to play around with that as well. All right, so that's all the layers within there. So let's just turn our subjects on. So the first subject is going to be this background subject. So you can see if we drop them in by default, this is how it's going to look. So this is where we're getting that color wash and that color blocking. So this color blocking is just giving everything a bit of a red hue across it. And that wash is really, you know, punching that up to make your subject kind of blend in with all the reds and things here, which I think is a super cool look. If we go up, you know, in this case, we would want probably our text to be white. So I could pop back in here, quickly adjust this, close this and say yes, and we can get our white text in there, and that's definitely going to stand out more. And let's turn our foreground subject on. So there we go, we got a subject with our shadowing there to make sure they look like they're on the ground. All right, so very easy just to drop your subjects in here. And again, this could be done if you wanted to. Let's transform this. We could make this, you know, with no feet in it by simply just extending below this way. All right, so it'll definitely work as like a 3/4. That's no problem. And for the background, if we wanted to adjust these colors and things, again, we could just come, let's say we wanted to maybe gray this background out instead of doing color. Well, I could switch this over to like a neutral gray. And let's do the same with these. We'll just have to determine the brightness we want here. So let's just start with like a mid-gray. And then what I'm going to do on this color blocking one is just turn my opacity all the way up. So we're going to lose all of that color. And then this color wash, we can make this darker or brighter depending on the look that we want. If we wanted it to be really faded out, we just bring that brighter. Or a little bit more contrast in, just bring that down a little bit more. You know, this would be an instance where I would probably want some color on this text in behind here. What we could do is just grab the color picker tool, and I could sample, you know, an actual jersey color here, and then grab this hex value. And if you wanted to make that text, you know, a matching color, then we can come into our repeating text, edit the smart object, pick our color, paste in our value, click OK, close, yes to save, and you're going to see our text is going to pick up all of that color. All right, so our subject shadow, this is where we can grab this layer, and for this one we'd probably want to pull it up behind our subjects, the mass of their body a little bit more, maybe turn some of that opacity down just a touch for this one. There we go, just to make it feel like they're casting a little bit of shadow on that text there. And I might make one more change to the text. I want to just darken that red up a little bit. So let's bring that down, maybe somewhere like this. Close, save. There we go. I think that looks a lot better. And then we would just have to change the name. Now this could be one line. You could do it as 2 lines. I like the look of 1 line for now. We'll just move this over. And there we go. The last thing I would need to do is we have our facial highlight boost. So we have this bottom one is for lighter skin tones, darker ones for darker, or the top one's for darker skin tones. So it's going to tell you to paint on the mask with white. So I'm going to pick the one for the darker skin tones. I'm going to select the mask. I'm going to grab a white brush. Let me turn my flow up a little bit. And I'm literally just going to brush over the face, and you can see how it just brings the highlights out on the face. If it's too much, just drop the opacity a little bit. It's just going to help bring that attention back on the face and make the face feel more lit. All right, so there we go. As simple as that to drop your subject in and make these changes. So I hope you get a ton of use out of this one and can't wait to see what you do. And we will see you on the next one. Thank you, everyone.